So hey guys, so welcome to another Warframe video, and today we're going to take a look at a Peacemaker setup for Mesa. So it's a 4 Forma build, and what I did with that Forma is Forma away the V in the aura slot into a dash, and I added a V and two Ds. Now the reason why I formatted away the V into a dash in the aura slot is because corrosive projection is really the only aura that's gonna help Peacemaker, and it's also currently the best endgame aura as well. The other auras are just not as good. I mean, you could run something like Energy Siphon, but as soon as you jump into Peacemaker and you start shooting around, that will be deactivated. And since Peacemaker, or the damage of Peacemaker, is split between 50% impact and 25% puncture and slash, it's not very good against armored units. So corrosive projection helps a lot because it's gonna strip some of that armor away. Next on the list we have Primed Flow, which is excellent for Peacemaker. This is gonna give us a ton of energy, which translates into more damage, because the more shots you fire with Peacemaker, up to a total of 40, the more damage you're gonna do. So the more energy you have, and the longer you're able to stay in Peacemaker, the more time you will spend firing at maximum damage. Which of course is beneficial, especially as the enemies start to get beefier. Now to counter the ridiculous power drain on Peacemaker, which by default is 15 energy per second, I am running Prime Continuity and Narrow-Minded, which gives me a lot of duration, which, first of all, reduces the drain on Peacemaker, but it also increases the duration of Shooting Gallery and Scatter Shield, which are both really good abilities. However, with Narrow-Minded comes low power range, so I countered that by using Stretch and Cunning Drift. Now, low power range may not be the worst thing for some people. I guess it's personal preference, because it only narrows down the cone in which Mesa will target enemies during Peacemaker. So if you have low power range, you will have to be much more precise when aiming Peacemaker. And I don't like that, so I basically added Stretch and Cunning Drift to push the cone in which Mesa will target enemies back to the original width before Narrow-Minded was applied. Now, even though you have Shatter Shield with Mesa, which will mitigate a nice bit of damage, I'm still using Vitality to get a little bit more survivability, because at the end of the day, you are a turret. You're just standing around, looking around, and you are a turret. You are not mobile while using Peacemaker, so a little bit of survivability is always nice. Now, I added a little bit of power strength with Intensify, and this just increases the damage bonus you get from Shooting Gallery, it increases the damage reduction from Shatter Shield, and it also increases the damage of Peacemaker, so it's a nice mod that works really well with Mesa. And finally, since the drain on Peacemaker is so damn high, I'm also running Streamline and Fleeting Expertise that's 2 ranks from the top. This gives me almost maximum power efficiency of 170%, and because I reduced the rank of Fleeting Expertise, I'm gaining 20% power duration at the cost of only 5% power efficiency, because it caps out at 175%, and that is worth it. Now let's take a look at Lex Prime, which is the weapon that I use with Peacemaker. And with Lex Prime, I'm able to get crits in the range of 15,000 if I'm firing at enemies that I have the correct elemental combo for. However, it is not a full Peacemaker build because I'm using multi-shot, and I'm pretty sure multi-shot doesn't work with Peacemaker. But I don't want to cripple the damage of the weapon too much. Now, I prefer running one-handed weapons because I get 20% increased reload speed, rather than dual-wielded secondary weapons where you get 10% bonus fire rate. And I'm also not running a melee weapon because I want to get some bonus health from Mesa's passive. Now the Lex build is very simple. It's just a 4 Forma build, and I'm not using any primed mods, but I will talk about them later. So what I did here is I added 2 Vs and 2 dashes, and the mods I'm using are Hornet Strike for more damage, Barrel Diffusion for multi-shot, Lethal Torrent for multi-shot and fire rate, and Pistol Gambit with Target Cracker for critical strike chance and critical damage multiplication. And finally, I'm also running 3 elemental mods based on the faction I'm going up against. Now, if you have Primed Target Cracker, Primed Pistol Gambit, and Primed Heated Charge, this will be a 6 Forma build where you will have to add 2 more Vs where Pistol Gambit and Target Cracker are. And as I've said already, if I have the correct elemental damage and I crit an enemy with Peacemaker, it will do somewhere around 15,000 damage with this build. And just in case you're curious, if I do not have the correct elemental damage, the crits will be somewhere between 4 and 5,000. Now, what I really like about this build is, since you have a lot of energy and the drain on Peacemaker is very low, you can stay in Peacemaker for a long damn time. And both the damage you can do and the area you can cover with Peacemaker are amazing. So if you're, for instance, camping boxes on Draco, you can literally just delete every enemy that comes in your line of sight, with the exception of the annoying enemies that have the shields around them. Because for some reason Peacemaker seems to do very little damage to the shields. Now, this build is okay in a solo environment. I mean, it can be a lot of fun, but where it really shines is in a pre-made group. If you can have Frost that will protect you with Snow Globe and EV Trinity that will give you a ton of energy when you drop out of Peacemaker, this build is amazing. Now, don't get me wrong, this build is still nice to run solo. I mean, you don't even have to run endless missions where you're being swarmed by waves and waves of enemies. I, for instance, have a lot of fun while running extermination missions with this. I just run into a room, turn on Peacemaker, bam bam bam, everything is dead, run into the next room, and repeat that until the mission is over. So even though the build or this setup is pretty expensive, I mean we're adding 4 Forma on Mesa alone, I would still recommend trying it out. And you know what, you don't have to run Lex Prime. If you have a favorite secondary weapon that you've maxed out already, you can run that instead. I chose Lex because I really like the weapon, I think it's really fun, and also people have been asking for a Lex Prime build for a very long time, so I decided to do both in one video. And that's pretty much it, so I thank you very much for watching as always, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.